Hello. Hi, sorry. I just wanted to ask the members of press to be a little bit closer so we are not all scattered and it's easier to interact. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 KEC General Assembly Opening Press Conference. My name is Naveen Kayoum, and I'm a Communication Officer at KEC, and I have with me my colleague Klaus Rieth, helping me with the press conference today. I welcome the members of media and press who are present here at the plenary and also those who are connecting with us via Zoom. Thank you very much for your interest, and we are very happy that you have connected with us. I would like to introduce our panelists today, starting with Reverend Dr. Trine Kapp. She is representing our host churches in Estonia, and she is the Assembly Coordinator. Next to her, we have Bishop Nick Baines, representing Church of England, and he is also the KEC Governing Board member. Next to him, we have Lea Schlenker. She is representing Protestant Church in Germany, and she is also a member of the governing board. So I will request them to have a short message for the press and media, sharing with them what are the hopes and aspirations as we start the assembly in Tallinn today, and what are we hoping to accomplish. And after they share their messages, we will open the floor for question and answers. We will try to take as many questions from the media as possible, but due to time constraints, if we cannot have all these questions, we are very happy to facilitate you for an interview or for a response after the press conference. So please don't hesitate to connect with us. I will invite now Reverend Dr. Trine Kapp to please share with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Estonia, where we are at the moment, is a varied country, being at the same time rather ecumenical and secularized, being at the same time very modern and still yet conservative. So being between south and north, east and west. So this is a place we welcome you. What we have experienced in this process of preparing the assembly is an ecumenical learning. It really has been. Getting to know each other, getting to know the churches, getting to know the histories and what are the key points on different places. But it also is being a meaningful interactions and new friends. What I would like to stress is that building bridges is what KEC is all about. And this is also something very important to us here in Estonia.
What did she say?
No sound online.
Okay. So just chat, that's fine. I apologize for the technical difficulty we are having with the sound at the moment, but I hope it will be sorted out. We have some journalists who are connecting with us on Zoom, so we just want to make sure that they are able to hear us properly. Please just give us a minute. Okay, can you hear us now? People connected with Zoom? Perfect. Thank you so much. Please continue. We are fine now. Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much again. So what I really wanted to say is that Estonia is a very varied country, being at the same time ecumenical and secularized, as we have 29% of Christians, being very modern, as you see as on a venue, at the same time still conservative, and also geographically between south and north, east and west. This is a place we welcome everybody for the KEK Assembly. And what we have experienced in this process of preparation is the ecumenical learning, getting to know the difficulties and also the good things about different churches, different regions, having meaningful interactions and also new friends. And I think this is something that really opens up the world, also for us here locally. And building bridges is what KEK is all about. And this is something very important also for us here. As said, we are always somewhere in a crossroads. So to shape the future under God's blessing is what we hope for. Thank you.
It's a bit like the Eurovision Song Contest, isn't it? I'll introduce England, where I'm from. In fact, from Liverpool originally, which is where it all happened. I'm on the governing board, and I think the important thing to stress is that the theme of the Assembly, the General Assembly this time, is not plucked out of the air, and it's not sort of random, and it's not naive. Peace and reconciliation in the world in which we live is not just an aspiration, it has to be an aim. The real world in which we live, we see Europe in change. You know, when I grew up, the map was a particular colour, and you just assumed it would always be like that. And then 1989 came, and then there have been other changes since, and the world keeps changing. And it's not changing for the better at the level of international politics. I should say I sit in the House of Lords in the United Kingdom, so I'm engaged at the political level as well. I also represent a country that has voted to fragment from the rest of Europe with the disaster that we call Brexit. And yet, in doing so, England, the Church of England, still remains part of the Conference of European Churches, because there's a difference between being in Europe and being in the EU. And we're having to work out now what that means for the future. And that throws up particular challenges and opportunities. The challenges are more stronger probably than the opportunities at the moment. But within this, the vocation of the church and the church is to incarnate, to model what it looks like to belong together, to work together, to serve together, even where we may differ in a number of particulars, but our vocation is to incarnate a unity that could be a model for the world. The church is not the end, it's a means. The church exists for the sake of the world, and that, in the end, is at the heart of what we're doing over the next few days.
So in addition to being a governing board member, I'm also the youth advisor. And while we'll have the opening service this afternoon, actually, in my eyes, the General Assembly has already started, because yesterday afternoon we started with our youth gathering. And this was a gathering of stewards, young delegates and young partners. And I must say, I was really surprised and particularly happy about this youth gathering, because I experienced people who are committed, people who are ready to act, and people who are articulate both about ecumenism and about their faith and how they experience the blessings that they are given to them. And I think in the last 5 years, since the last General Assembly in Novi Sad, we really had an emphasis on strengthening our commitment with youth in KEK, and while doing that, we thought the best way of doing that is cooperating with the existing ecumenical youth organizations. So we really increased our cooperation with the Ecumenical Youth Council in Europe and with the World Student Christian Federation in Europe. And I must say, this is a superb way of doing ecumenism. I think we need to cooperate way more in the future, and learning from each other and being together as churches in our different respective fields. And also what I learned yesterday at the youth gathering is that some people already have been in Karlsruhe at the General Assembly of the World Council of Churches. So also there are so many links, and actually our young people are active in so many different ecumenical organizations, which I find impressive. And so having that experience from yesterday, I really hope that for this General Assembly, youth will be an integral part of our General Assembly, and that it will be an ecumenical experience for all of us, bringing us together, especially in times after COVID, where we kind of need to come together again and experience what it means to be church in Europe today, and what it means to share how we experience blessings and also how we face the future.
Thank you very much to all of you. I would now like to open the question and answer session. If you're from the press, please take the mic and ask the question. We will be connected to Zoom, and we will take some questions from there as well. So you are very welcome. Please come up front and ask your question. Thank you. Meanwhile, if there is a question from the Zoom, you can perhaps share from here. I think one aspect that we have found a lot of interest in is the theme of peace and reconciliation. And I think that's probably one of the themes that are going to emerge in the coming days quite strongly. If you think how the member churches as a fellowship in Europe are responding to this, what's the significance perhaps that you see there? Perhaps you can say some words while we receive some more questions.
Well, peace and reconciliation is a beautiful term, right? It's so broad, it's cozy, it's warm, that's where we all want to be. Yet our everyday experience is different, and I am a very privileged situation living in Germany, living my life as I do. Other people in Europe are not that at ease in their everyday lives. So I think the peace and reconciliation theme is important, but to put it theologically rather in an eschatological perspective. And while we can work towards that, towards this long end hope, I think we have hard work that we need to face, but we also have blessings, and we have gifts, and we have possibilities of staying in conversation and opening up doors, and maybe sometimes only windows. But I think we shouldn't forget about peace and reconciliation, but we shouldn't be naive either.
As I suggested earlier, I mean, peace, we can be romantic about peace and reconciliation. I had a conversation with the Archbishop of Canterbury just after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, where I said, when bombs are coming down the chimney, you can't just talk about peace, love and reconciliation. We've got to go a bit deeper than that. And peace, in a Christian sense, is won by someone who's nailed to a cross. You know, reconciliation is not natural. It has to be worked at, and it's costly. And if the churches can't be realistic about what's involved in making peace, let alone keeping it, then probably nobody can. It's costly. But we have to be utterly realistic and have our eyes open. And where we have differences of approach and opinion and perspective on that, that needs to be owned. We don't live in a fantasy world.
So we have one question from IPD that they have connected with us on Zoom.
Yes, the question is, as far I know, at the moment, only one church from Ukraine is a member of the Conference of European Churches, the Reformed Church in Transcarpathia. Now, so what about the Orthodox Church of Ukraine? This is a question from EPD. I would like to ask the bishop, please.
An application came in from the Orthodox Church of Ukraine to join KEC, which is not a communion of churches. Let's understand the status of that. And the decision on that was postponed because there were a lot of considerations to be brought to bear, but at the end of the day, that application was deemed to tick the boxes that are required. It conforms to the rules we have as KEC, and at the last meeting of the governing board, that application to become members was accepted. It's not pleased everybody. And that's part of the realism about what we're engaged in. There are 6 months from that decision in which representations can be made.
Thank you, Bishop.
Those who are present here from the press, I see some badges are there. You're very welcome to ask your questions. I invite you already. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Hi everybody, Alex Di Maio from Comise. My question is, beside peace and reconciliation, what are the main challenges for ecumenism nowadays in the future, near future? Thanks.
What are the main challenges for the churches in ecumenism? Just to repeat what the question was. Perhaps Bishop Nick, you can answer to that.
Oh, there aren't any. It's all fine. The big challenge for ecumenism is that the world changes and the church changes. Its particular missiological context keeps changing and evolving, and we need different ways of relating. In the UK, you could argue that the traditional ecumenical relationships and dynamics that grew up in the post-war period perhaps don't serve us as well as they used to. And certainly at local level, increasingly churches are not going into signed declarations of partnership and commitments like that. They say, where is the action? Where is the dynamic? Where is the initiative? Let's all go with that. So you're getting a dynamic ecumenism. At the more European level, that has to be more strategic, and conventions and rules matter. But I think the main challenges are within there. How do we operate in a changed world?
Thank you very much. So we have run out of time. This is the last question we can receive. Thank you very much for that. And after this, we will conclude and we will connect via email and phones. Thank you. Please go on.
I'm Klaas van der Kamp from the Netherlands. I have 2 questions. One is related to the last question. What do you expect from this meeting in a theological way? I know that you are preparing some sort of follow-up of the Charta Ecumenica. What do you expect from this meeting on that point? And the second question is, if you talk about reconciliation, about peace, what is the specific contribution of KEC related to the World Council of Churches? How do these 2 organizations relate to each other, and what is the specific meaning of this assembly? Thank you.
So as to the theological outcomes, I think just being here is a theological outcome, worshipping together, I think we shouldn't forget about the embodied nature of being Christians, of doing theology. I think that's essential. And while KEC is not itself focusing on theological dialogue, but rather on political dialogue, all our political dialogues do have theological implications, of course, because otherwise we would be just another political organ, and we need a theologically grounded political answer to what is happening in Europe, as Bishop Nick said. So this is what I would respond to that. And secondly, in relation to the World Council of Churches, I think as one could see in Karlsruhe, there's a close cooperation between the World Council of Churches and the Conference of European Churches, especially when it comes to Europe, which is our shared ground, we could say. But we have different ways of thinking about church involvement. KEC is rather a platform for dialogue among churches and towards European institutions, whereas the World Council of Churches has a more theological, more church communion-oriented stance. And I think both are fine, and they are not mutually exclusive, but there are two different approaches which can actually really enrich each other.
Excuse me, but to insist a bit more on our question from my colleague from the Netherlands. My name is Christine Crowell. I'm the General Secretary of the Council of Churches in the Netherlands. What about the follow-up of the Carta Ecumenica?
Yeah, so maybe I can share. I'm part of the revision group of Carta Ecumenica. We are currently in the process of revision. We plan to have the new version of the Carta ready by 2026. And we also we have had our initial conversations in March, and we are developing a first draft by September, and then we plan to also involve churches in a digital space. We are a group consisting of 3 Catholic members from the Council of European Bishops and 3 members from KEC representing Anglican, Protestant and Orthodox churches. And we work on a way that is faithful to the Charta in its preciseness and commitment and conciseness, but also that responds to the changes that we experience in Europe.
We will now have to conclude due to the time constraints. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the panelists for their precious time. I know they are all very swamped with different responsibilities, so thank you for coming and engaging with the media. And I thank the members of press and also those who are online to connect with us. I apologize for the technical difficulties we have had, but you are very welcome to contact us for interview request or any other response that you need. We are here and we are ready to help you. So thank you very much.